Hello?
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 Hi.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi? Hello?
Hey.
Hey, hello?
Hey. Hi.
Hello?
Welcome to Mid Power Mondays. My name is Shane,
And this is Joe.
and today we're going to be looking over one of my Mid Power Commander decks. Today's deck is built around Shu Yun, the Silent Tempest.
Ugh, and I'll be silently judging you for being a D-bag.
I've kindly labeled this deck Shu Yun, Hidden Fister,
Grow up.
as it's entirely built around Shu Yun's ability to give him double strike and trying to one-shot an opponent out of nowhere. Hence, the Fistin'.
Shane, if you've ever wondered why people target you, it's because you smell. But it's also because the decks you build are inherently unfun, and you're a degenerate.
Joe, I see where you're coming from, and from this deck and my previous deck, Yasova Dragonclaw, I can kind of see where you get all this Shane is a degenerate stuff. But I promise that not all of my decks are like this. You'll definitely see that in the next episode that showcases one of my decks, because it's not a degenerate deck.
I very much doubt that, Shane, but I can't wait to hate that one too.
Let's check out the Commander Rundown. Shu Yun Hidden Fister has been built entirely around trying to beef up Shu Yun and swing in for lethal damage in a single turn.
Wow, that sounds like fun for everyone at the table.
Yeah, Joe, I'm glad that you're like on board with this because it's pretty fun. I like it a lot.
Yeah, there was sarcasm, and I hate it. And I hate
Uh,
you.
oh shit. Okay. Well, generally, this can happen pretty easily with Shu Yun's ability. It
Shit.
gives him double strike and his prowess ability. It gives him some +1/+1 until end of turn. So Shu Yun himself costs 2 generic and a blue mana, and he's a 3/2 human monk creature. He has the ability Prowess that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. He also has the ability that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay Boros. If you do, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. Guess what? Shu Yun can be that creature, and he can get double strike.
Wow. What scum of the earth you are.
This deck runs many cantrips and combat trick spells that will beef up Shu Yun to quickly strike for upwards of 20 plus damage, which will hopefully be unblockable, or at least have trample.
But also, hopefully none of those things. And 0 damage. And he's dead, and none of this happened.
This Voltron strategy is entirely disruptible and makes the deck a glass cannon. Attempting to build around a commander with no evasion isn't exactly the strongest, but when I play this deck, I am mainly looking to see if I can just knock out at least one person.
Guess who that normally is, Shane?
I don't know, Joe. Who is it?
Oh, it's me, and it's why I hate you.
Are you sure it's not Alex, who I try to kill every time that I play him?
Well, him too. But we all hate you. You
That,
make us miserable.
that's 100% true. I'm one of those weird people that don't always play to win. Sometimes I just want my deck to do the thing that I build it to do.
The thing here is having someone not enjoy the game, as per usual. So good job, you always do it.
There are many options for Voltron commanders in EDH,
Almost all bad.
but Shu Yun is one of my favorites.
Because he's the worst one.
Mostly because it allows me to use cards that would normally be considered suboptimal in EDH.
Hardcore trash is the word I'd use.
Making a common card like Run Amok or Fists of Flame into a pretty threatening spell instead of just a cool trample card bro play is a huge draw for me.
I see what you did there, and I'm ignoring it.
I've always been a combat damage player in Magic, and you'll see that it's a common theme in many of my decks. I like to hit people.
Ugh, how original. So, Shane, what the F are we actually trying to do?
Well, Joe, the game plan for Shu Yun Hidden Fister is straightforward.
Oh, Shane, you don't need to explain this. It was rhetorical.
Oh,
You've
well,
mentioned it about 10 times right now.
this is the part of the video where we talk about the game plan.
Oh, well, I mean, if we gotta.
Yeah, we gotta. Because in case it wasn't obvious, you will want to use Shu Yun's ability to give him double strike and his prowess ability mixed in with a few combat tricks or cantrips to deal as much damage as you can to an opponent in a single turn. The main goal is to hit somebody for 21 plus commander damage and take him out.
Oh, I didn't. I thought it was something else. You should probably mention it more, that it's Voltron and you're trying to beat on people. I just, up to this point in the video, I had no idea what we were doing.
Well, Joe, just so you know, we have several cantrips and cards that have effects that will make Shu Yun unblockable or help him get around those, pesky blockers that our opponents have.
Uh,
I'm going to quickly touch up my Spirit Mantle, which I
Dude,
love.
Touch on your spirit mantle. Tell the people.
I'm gonna tell
Give them the good news.
I'm gonna tell
Give them the good news about the spirit mantle. You should leave that in there.
No, it's the audio is gonna be too dirty and muddled. It's just not gonna work.
What is?
There's too much shit between what we were talking about and where we're at now.
No, it's fine.
It's fine. Just leave all of it in.
Yep.
Just go. Don't even edit the video. Just
no,
put it up.
no. Just jam it on there. Give them the good word.
Oh,
Spread the word of our Lord and Savior Spirit Mantle.
Joe, one of those cards happens to be my favorite card in the deck. It's called Spirit Mantle. And for 1 and a white, it's an enchantment aura. And it enchants a creature and gives it +1/+1 and protection from other creatures.
Was that a question?
No, it just means it's unblockable.
Oh.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I guess.
There are also a few equipment cards that enable Shu Yun to get a kill faster. Inquisitor's Flail, Leering Emblem, and Runechanter's Pike all can help accelerate Shu Yun's killing potential.
Yeah, they help you just jam those fists right up there. Where? Go ahead and get creative.
Given that Shu Yun will likely be targeted for removal fairly quickly, I've got a handful of counter spells in the deck,
You're such a Counturd.
as well as some backup commanders mixed in as well.
Wow, actually, delete that. That was a terrible joke. Don't just. You know what? Just leave all this in. I'll own my shame. That was awful.
Well, it's going in, dude. It's going in.
Okay.
If you listen to any of the audio from the Anja video, I left some trash in, so it's good. Feather the Redeemed, Monastery Mentor, and Narset Enlightened Master can all be huge threats when dropped on the board if your opponents won't let Shu Yun punch people.
This is good because Shu Yun is always murder target number 1.
Yeah, he doesn't usually stick around too much, especially if you hit somebody for like 20 damage and almost kill them. He never gets in a second swing, hardly.
Never hardly? Good.
Never, hardly ever.
Hardly, never, ever, sometimes, maybe, definitely. Also,
Sometimes
some,
never,
probably.
impossible, swing twice. Pretty sure it says on the card right there, Shu Yun cannot attack an opponent more than one time.
Oh, I don't know why you didn't read that text earlier. That would have been relevant. Maybe people wouldn't hate him so much then.
Wow. It's almost like I can't read the cards, because do you remember when I tried to build Marisol?
Yeah, I do remember when you built that. That was so bad.
And didn't understand how the card worked.
That was really great. Remember,
that deck.
Yeah, I remember because I built that thing with you, and I was like, yeah, this is great. We'll just combo off. Nobody's problem. Oh my god, we're so good at this. We're not good at this, Shane.
Nope.
We're really bad at this.
Yep. Because it was just say, piles!
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 Hey Joe, what's a cool thing about Magic?
Oh, it's probably doing sick wheelies, bro.
Well, that is actually pretty cool, but that's not this deck that we're talking about today. What I actually wanted to talk about was removing people's stuff from the board.
That's not the best part of Magic, you liar.
Well, joke's on you, because we're going over those F that and FU cards. So I'm going to highlight 2 cards out of this section, which is not quite true, because it's almost 3 cards. The first one we're going to talk about is Wear and Tear, which is one of my favorite removal spells in the Boros colors. It's a fuse card, which means that you can play both sides of this card. The red side has Destroy Target Artifact for 1 and a red, and the white side has Destroy Target Enchantment for a white. Using the Fuse ability means that you can play both of these and destroy 2 things for 3 mana. It's pretty cool. At instant speed, might I add. The other card I want to highlight is Deflecting Palm. It's an instant for a red and white mana, and it says, the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage. If the damage is prevented this way, Deflecting Palm deals that much damage to that source's controller. So if somebody hits you with a big 30 damage attack, slap them with this. Big death. Real cool. That's it. Mic drop, I'm out.
Whoa. Can't believe you dropped that and then walk away. I guess I'll finish the video on my own.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay, good. I can't edit. Y'all be Cantrippin. So in this section, we're going to highlight some of the really key pieces that allow you to storm through your deck and generate those prowess triggers for Shu Yun and the other idiots. There's two cards that I want to highlight here. Feather the Redeemed and Whirlwind of Thought. These themselves aren't cantrips, but they turn every spell you cast into a cantrip. Specifically, targeted spells or non-creature spells. They're really great for making sure your hand is always full and you've always got fodder to feed your prowess triggers. Everything else in this list is a cantrip of some sort. Some of them have more useful abilities, some of them have less useful. However, the best one of the bunch is Shadow Rift, because it's instant speed and grants your creature what is effectively unblockable, giving it the keyword Shadow, which means it can only be blocked by other creatures with Shadow.
I don't get it.
It's Canada, but it's an M in front instead of the C, so it's Manada. So you be like, hey, do you want mana? Duh, yeah, I do. Or, oh, mana, duh. Some words that no one knows.
Wow, Joe. Thanks for the great intro. Now we're going to look at the ramp spells. As Joe so kindly pointed out, we're talking about mana. Duh. So this is a pretty standard, straightforward Jeskai ramp. Tried to get a lot of the 2-mana rocks. Don't have the talismans, but we're going for budget here, and we're also I just don't have a lot of talismans laying around. Wizards, please reprint talismans. Thanks.
Dude, they just reprinted them, and their prices are all the way down to $7,000.
That's I want more. Can you just put them in all the commander products? Like all the signets, all the talismans, please?
Shane, I have a request.
Yep.
Draw me like one of your French girls.
Oh, baby.
In this section, we're going to go over spells that exclusively draw you cards. Probably my favorite one out of this bunch is none of them, actually, because they all do the same thing. You put them on a creature, and then they deal damage and you draw cards. However, the most interesting of the bunch is probably Open into Wonder, which will help you draw cards and make stuff unblockable.
Drop and Prow. Next, we're going to talk about some of the other creatures in the deck that have prowess. That, they kind of just work with Shu Yun. Because you do the thing with Shu Yun, and it also does the thing with these guys. It's pretty cool. My favorite card out of this section is Monastery Mentor. Mostly because Shu Yun's a monk, and he needs his other monk buddies to come up here and, help you just fist people to death. And that's what this card allows you to do. Because it has prowess, and it also creates other monk creatures that also have prowess when you cast a non-creature spell. So it's like you cast a spell, the Monastery Mentor gets a +1/+1 until end of turn, but he also makes another monk. And then when you cast another spell, they all get +1/+1. It's great.
It's the Russian nesting doll of surprise fisting. You know what, Shane? This deck makes you a turd, and that's why you've got Counturd Spells. There's a lot of real cheap counter spells in this deck, but I think Stubborn Denial is the most interesting card out of this pile. It reads, counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 1. The interesting thing is that it has Ferocious, and your commander will always have Ferocious if you cast this spell. So this essentially reads, negate for 1 less mana, which is really cool. Everything else in this pile is a really cheap counter spell. Some of them for 1 mana, which is very nice. But they're designed to protect your commander and the other shitlords that you command.
Next, we're going to talk about Shu Yun's Big Dick Energon. The cards in this pile are curated around helping Shu Yun kill stuff faster. Inquisitor's Flail is an equipment card that will essentially allow Shu Yun to deal double strike damage. It's pretty sick. You swing on somebody with this equipped, you maybe only need to play one other spell and they're dead. Another card in this pile that I like is Tiber Battle Rage. For 1 and a red, you essentially get to give Shu Yun double strike and trample until end of turn because it also has Ferocious, a mechanic that works really well with prowess.
Well, Shane, now that you've gone over how to make things beefy as all get out, let's talk about how to get it through in this section. Lady in the Trample and the Unblockable. So this entire pile is dedicated exclusively to making sure that your damage gets through no matter what blockers they have, unless they're amazingly huge. Even then, it's probably not going to happen. So this pile does 2 things. Gives Trample, or it gives Unblockable. Sometimes both, probably not though. The 2 cards that I want to highlight here are Brute Strength and Defy Gravity. Brute Strength is really great because you will never see this in any other EDH deck at all. It's completely useless, but in this one, it's fantastic. It buffs your commander by +3/+1 and gives Trample, plus activates his prowess trigger. The reason I like Defy Gravity so much in this deck is because you can cast it once to give something flying, cast it again out of your graveyard to give another something flying, and that's 2 prowess triggers for 2 mana, which is really great for having 1 card only. While there are some other great cards in this pile, these are the 2 that stand out the most to me.
Joe, those are some great spells, but let's talk about one other card. Spirit Mantle is the enchantment aura we talked about earlier that makes Shu Yun unblockable, which is really great. Nothing's better than having Shu Yun on the board, unblockable, at all times until somebody removes him. Or turns him into a bug.
Or a tree.
Or a frog.
Or an elk.
Or an ice wall.
Or a coward.
Finally, let's cover the utility cards in this.
No! Let's go to the utility closet with Poindexter McPoindexter.
Lastly, let's check out the utility closet.
Yeah. Snarf, snarf!
That's going in for sure. Anyway, we're talking about Mystical Tutor in this section because it's really cool. I don't know if you guys know about Mystical Tutor. It's a little known card that it's pretty cool. For 1 blue mana, you search your library for an instant, interrupt, mana source, or sorcery card. Reveal that card to all players and shuffle your library, and then put the revealed card on top of it. So in combination with another cantrip, you could put something really game-changing on the top. So you play Mystical Tutor in response to the cantrip, or before the cantrip, or whenever you want, really. And then you put the swag card on the top, and then you use that to kill somebody. It's cool. I like it. It's my favorite card in this section.
It's also the most expensive card in this section by a lot. This is approximately 15% of the budget.
Hey, let's not talk. Okay, budget deck.
Well, Shane, I've seen all these piles, I know the cards in there, and I know that you have a trash commander. How the heck do I play this deck?
Well, Joe, that's a pretty good question. And if I haven't made it clear beforehand, you just fist people. You just get Shu Yun out and you punch him. But let's go over some of the tech behind that. And by tech, I mean, here's a starting hand. Right here on the screen. It's pretty straightforward. It follows our standard opening hand rules. You want at least 3 lands, maybe a piece of ramp. The other cards we want in our opening hand are hopefully Protection Spell, and some cantrips to get Shu Yun's prowess triggers going. Ideally, you'll want whatever you have in your opening hand to let you swing on an opponent for around 10 plus damage on turn 4.
But Shane, didn't you just make fun of Anya's entire combo for only doing 10 damage? And here you are just bragging about it on turn 4.
Well, Joe, I said you'll want to be able to do 10 plus damage on turn 4, but generally you want to wait till turn 5 to actually do damage. You'll want to draw into something and hope and pray that it lets you hit for that magic 20 plus damage number we're looking for.
That's equal to 2 Anya combos? Wow. Holy crap. That's a spicy meatball.
Again, Joe, the goal of this deck is not to kill the entire board, it's just to kill one person. Generally you.
Yeah.
Actually, we really just want to kill the most threatening person to us, not necessarily the person who's the most threatening to the entire table, and then move on to the other players.
Yeah. Well, at turn 5, I can see how you determine a giant threat. That person generally has a mana rock.
If you draw in any of your other creatures in this deck early on, you may want to play those out instead of Shu Yun, except Narset, because she costs way too many mana dollars. The other creatures, though, may eat the removal spells that your opponents are saving for Shu Yun.
So, Shane, strategically, are you trying to tell me that you should treat these backups as overcosted pre-counter spells for removal?
Maybe.
That's a terrible strategy.
Well, Joe, given that this is a budget deck, we do not run the free counter spells. We do have several 1-mana counters that will save Shu Yun if he's targeted, but also playing out other targets is helpful. Protecting Shu Yun long enough for him to swing on someone is pretty key.
I'm gathering that your commander may be important to your strategy.
He might be the biggest strength of my deck, Joe!
Oh my god.
Strengths and weaknesses.
Okay.
Shu Yun's biggest strength is his explosive damage potential. With the right cards in hand, you can go from swinging for 3 damage to lethal with just 2 or 3 spells. The other biggest strength for Shu Yun is that you generally get to see a lot of the deck. A lot of the cantrips will allow you to cycle through cards pretty quickly, getting you to see generally, at least a third of your deck every game.
Well, Shane, I want to move on to weaknesses. And one of the weaknesses is that you also get to see the rest of your deck when you flip it upside down because you're dead first. Shu Yun is a glass cannon. The problem being that there's not a lot of defense to put up, and if you don't kill people, they're going to kill you first because you are threatening lethal all the time. So the other weakness to Shu Yun is that he's very susceptible to removal. He doesn't have a lot of natural evasion, so you're going to have to give him hexproof or counter anything that targets him through one of your counter spells or potentially a Swiftfoot Boots.
Shu Yun is also not an incredibly fast commander. While he only costs 3 mana, he requires a bit of a setup afterwards to be relevant in the game. If you're sitting with nothing but ramp spells or nothing that would get you past a bunch of creature blockers, you might as well be sitting dead in the water.
Wow, what a bummer.
Now, Joe, tell me why I'm an idiot for playing this deck.
Well, Shane, I can tell you why you're an idiot in general, but I can tell you even more so why you're an idiot for playing this deck. Much like your Yasova Dragonclaw deck, you will be the target of everybody and everything the second you slap this bad boy down on the table. It's like you hate having fun. It's an honest-to-God sickness, and we are at the table are all going to unify in ending your suffering. So it seems like a cry for help where you're asking for us to kill you first in every single game. And by God, I'll oblige.
And you usually do. Generally, I've earned the title as Kill Shane first, because Shane have deck that kills. So, yeah.
Yep, his nickname is Shane, quote, kill Shane first, Shane. Shane, tell me, if I too want to double fist someone to death, where do I go to find it?
Well, Joe, I'm glad you asked. The link for the deck list is in the video description below, and can also be found on our Moxfield account. We upload all of our decks onto Moxfield, and they become public as soon as we release the video for Mid-Power Mondays. As mentioned a few times before, the decks that we cover on these videos range around the $150 mark. This is going to be one of the cheaper decks that we come across, mostly because the cards used in it are pretty cheap, because they're generally not very good in anything other than just standard tabletop Magic. So the deck budget for this one is around $109.90 as of recording this video. If you wanted a more expensive and better version of this deck, clearly you could just add in some better lands. A lot of the stuff I have in here are tapped lands because it's what I had whenever I built the deck originally, but the land base could use a little bit of an upgrade. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Mid-Power Mondays. We'll be bringing more mid-power deck techs in the future, on Mondays.
Sometimes. Maybe. But definitely probably. And with that commitment to our future, we'll see you guys on the next episode of Mid-Power Mondays.
Bye.
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 Bye.